Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me every Friday for the last, I can't even remember how many years anymore. I've been getting together with entrepreneurs and business leaders from all walks of life, all over the world, just helping share ideas about entrepreneurship, what it takes to lead, what it takes to grow. Meaningful, useful organizations. And today is no different. We have a special topic for you today. Don't have any guest coaches for you today, but probably next week we'll be coming up with some new guest coaches that I've been happy to introduce you to. But today we're talking about win-win professional relationships. What is a win-win professional relationship? How do you establish it? How do you maintain those that you have grown? And how do you keep the universe of relationship building moving forward to yourself? Now, those of you who've been paying attention, you've been looking over the last few weeks. We've been developing the 9 steps to developing professional relationships. And developing win-win relationships is just one of those steps. In fact, it's step number 7 in the whole 9-step process. So we're rounding out the week and we're getting to a point where we are able to now share tons of meaningful information for all of you all who want to learn more about how you develop your professional relationships. How do you do it in a way that's going to create the most energy, the most productivity, the most focus possible? Because we don't have time to waste, and we certainly don't have opportunities that we want to throw away. So we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to create and maintain those special relationships with professionals as we meet. I don't care if you want to have a mentor, or you need to have an advisory council, or you have a group or team of people around you that support and believe and really help you deliver the quality products and services that you're trying to deliver to the world. It is so important to know how to identify, how to maintain, how to create professional relationships in a win-win sort of way. So if those of you have been following along can see that in our show notes, we've already produced, you can look at the information here and make sure that it's a great opportunity for you to deal with all the things that you need to deal with to create your professional relationship. And I want to make sure that you know about all those opportunities and that you're taking advantage of all those opportunities. My computer's doing some wacky things right now, and I don't want it to do that right now. So let me make sure that, okay, all right, we good. All right. But let's talk about it. I'm so glad to have some of my good friends are signed on already. I see you out there, Kresnier, and I see you out there, Tamika. Thank you so very much for signing on. If you can tell us a little bit more about your business and where you're coming from, that would be great. I'd love to give you a shout out in on our show notes. As thousands of people watch this, sometimes they're watching it live, and sometimes they're watching it in a recording on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. And so we try to make sure we keep that environment available and good for everyone. No matter where you're following us, no matter where you're connecting with us, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you share this with other people, and make sure that you are doing everything you can to not keep this a secret. We want to keep all this information flowing to as many people as we possibly can. So today we're talking about, as I said earlier, we're talking about establishing win-win relationships. And what do you have to do to establish win-win relationships? Let's get into it. First of all, understanding what a win-win relationship is all about is super important, because when you've got that good opportunity to work together with another professional, I don't care where they are in your sphere of influence, right? They may be a person that that you're being influenced by. They may be a person that you're influencing. But no matter where they are in that process, you want to develop what I like to call a mutual mojo moment, right? Where everything that you're doing together, you and that other person, is clicking. It's making sure that things are working on. There's not a whole bunch of distractions. There's not a whole bunch of argument. There's not a whole bunch of confrontation. There's just some basic agreement that allows both of you in the situation to be extremely happy. So much has been said over the years about developing positive professional relationships, but I think there's nothing more important than understanding what a win-win relationship is and what a win-win relationship isn't, because most of us are taught, quite frankly, to use win-lose relationships as a way to move ourselves forward. When we think about leveraging other people, their time, their talent, and their treasure, we don't tend to think about what's in it for them as much or more than what's in it for us. And that's something that we have to really wrap our minds around. When you're going to ask to establish a relationship with someone, the first thing I think you need to be thinking about is what's in it for them. And you need to be able to brilliantly articulate what's in it for them. That means you have to do your homework on a couple different fronts. First of all, you got to know what you're bringing to the table. What is it that you're offering, and what is the value of what you're bringing to the table? You've got to really be good at that. You've got to do your homework, target market, specific market research, everything you have to do to make that happen. But the second thing is you need to know what's in the heart and minds of the persons that in question right now, that I'm sure that if you've used or haven't contemplated in the past, is going to literally rock your world today. Here's the golden question. If there's a person out there who you've established a relationship with, and you've established or you decided that you want to establish a deeper relationship with, the question you need to be ready to ask them is that, listen, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to get on your nerves. I don't want to make anything difficult for you, but I'd love to be able to enhance whatever you're doing, whatever vision that you're bringing to the table, things that you're trying to do to keep you going. What you know, I don't want to just ask you to help me or maybe and distract you from what you're doing. So tell me, what are the most powerful things, that needs that you have that could move the needle forward to your activities and your projects, the things that you're working on right now today? Even if I don't know how I might be able to help you in any way, shape, or form, I am committed to helping you find the people that you should be finding to get you there. Would that be okay? Can we have that discussion? I promise you, if you're going to have that discussion, it doesn't matter who is with. You could be talking to the president. You could be talking to Oprah Winfrey. You could be talking to whoever you identify or emulate or edify. Anybody who you say something to that nature to are going to start to consider you as a win-win partner. They're going to start to consider you as a person that they could look to share information and ideas and thoughts. You're going to start to elevate the level of trust and collaborative opportunities that you find yourself getting yourself into. Don't always look to people and ask, what can I do? What can they do for me? Ask that question to yourself in the back of your mind, right? But up front, ask, what can I do for them? What kind of contribution can I make to move them? And don't assume that because a person has money or they have power or they have some kind of title, whatever that is, that you can't somehow enhance their life. One of the greatest things I think I've ever done as a coach is really, before I got into the coaching business, I started to ask questions of people. I used to use LinkedIn a lot, and I still do use LinkedIn a lot, but LinkedIn had a program called question and answers, right? So it allowed you to point your questions, your specific professional questions, to specific markets and so on and so forth. And one of the questions that was bugging me, because I couldn't figure out what was in it for them. I couldn't figure out what was in it for the mentor in a mentor-protege relationship. And then, so I asked the question. I said, I asked the question to thousands of mentors all over the world from every profession you can imagine. And they kept coming back to me with answers like, I love being a mentor because finally someone's listening to me. I love being a mentor because I get to help others from making the mistakes that I already made. I love being a mentor because it helps me to know that I understand and am doing the right things today based on my ability to articulate what I am doing to a protege or a mentee. I hate that word mentee, but let's go with it. So you think about that. There's always in it for something for everybody in any relationship, even the mentor-protege relationship. The mentor gets to have someone who's actually paying attention. That is real and that is valuable. Someone who's paying attention, right? The mentor gets to have someone to validate and make sure their ideas are considered. And I'll give you an example. If you are working with a protege or even a counterpart of any type, and you give them some advice and they take that advice and they run with it, how do you feel about the advice that you just gave? How do you feel about your ability to make a contribution to the forefront of human history and to that person's life, right? You have to feel good. You have no choice. So I'm asking you to empower others to help you by being willing to come to the table with more than just an ask, but something to offer. Because you have something. When you ask, you'll have something of value you know that you want, but you'll also have something of value that you know that someone else is giving you in terms of support. Those are the basic constructs of a win-win relationship. And that's before we even get into the techniques. There are 7 specific techniques, and I have highlighted them and written them down and shared with you in the document that you find in the chat. So if you're watching us on LinkedIn, you're probably not going to be able to see that document, but if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll be able to see that document. And if you're watching us on LinkedIn, I will go back on our LinkedIn organization and I will add that document in at a later time. So I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see it. In fact, I think I just did it. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, you should be able to see the documents. But if you're not, let me know, because I want to make sure that everybody can see this training document. Listen, I go into in the beginning part of this document about some of the things that I literally got from the Bible about establishing win-win relationships. And I'm going to share some of those information with you. Not that I want you to go out and become a Bible scholar or, deeply get yourself involved in Christianity or anything, but I want you to understand these are universal principles that have come out, and they tend to come out through the Bible. But I've also studied the latest neuro-linguistic or the neurological ideas and concepts that come along with win-win relationships. But let me just share with you what some of the, just a few things before I get into the 7 concepts that you really need to know. Let me share with you a few things that the Bible has shared with us over generations that, there's stuff that, you might not have learned or you might not have read it that way or might not have thought about it. Quite quickly ask here. Have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do good things. You have to be willing to share what you have. You have to be willing to make sacrifices to others. It's important to know what others mean to you, and so that others can see what you're bringing to the table. You have to go all in. You have to make full commitments to relationships. If you're making relationships and you're making half-hearted commitments to relationships, professional or personal, it doesn't really matter. You're not authentically engaged, then you're doing damage to somebody else, right? So you have to think about that. If you're deciding I want to be in relationship with somebody, professional relationship or win-win relationship with someone, I have to ask myself, what am I bringing to the table for them? They have to understand what I'm bringing to the table for them and accept that what I'm bringing to the table for them is valuable to them. And then I have to make sure I understand, and we have to keep asking that question. I used to do this with my daughter quite a bit. We'd go out once a week, and every time I just take her out, man, we have a daddy-daughter date, and I would ask her, how am I doing as a father? Where do you think I need to be tightening things up, or what things can I do from your point of view to be even better? That was a constant question on the table before we even had any conversation about what happened last week or what she did or what I did or anything like that. We talked about, the roles that we both play. She asked the same question: how can I be a better daughter? Because we're interested in the relationship more than we're interested in the transaction. In the professional world, that still works because we're talking about human beings. All right. Another thing the Bible brings out really, really clearly is making sure that you have a kindly attitude whenever you engage with another human being, right? This is super important to be warm and friendly. It's super important to have what it takes within you to bring that special light that's inside of your life and your heart out into the world. Entrepreneurs have this in spades, I have to tell you, because they seek to serve communities, and they seek to serve individuals, especially their clients and their stockholders and people that they're working with, and they have that servant mentality, servant heart, the servant leadership heart, right? It's super important that we can maintain that, and you figure out how to grow that, right? One of the things obviously you get from the Bible is an understanding of what divine accountability might look like. You look at, what in spiritual terms you might be asked to do, and how do you account for that? You're forced to think about that when you are using any of the tools, the spiritual tools we out there. I don't care if you read the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, or the Tao Te Ching, or any other type of books that help you, or go to any workshops or ceremonies or anything that help you understand that there is a higher power, and because there is a higher power, there is a higher level of accountability that you must be willing to embrace and try to attest to. All right, so it's important. Now let's get into some of the 7 concepts that I want to review with you when it comes to developing win-win relationships. Here's a quote from Tori Angeles: "Achieving win-win, how to negotiate to get what you really want." That's what it's all about. When you're in a win-win relationship, you're talking about negotiating what you really want. And what you really want, I promise you, is more than just the transaction. What you really want is to be meaningful, is to be relevant, and to be significant. And what you really want from every relationship is an opportunity to show up in that space, with that person, as in your best self, and be rewarded for having done so. And those rewards are what we call social rewards. They're not necessarily financial rewards, but they are social rewards. And those social rewards create joy and happiness, which actually lead to the financial rewards that we're trying to get to. It's super important that you understand women relationship, the happiness, enthusiasm, the excitement that we need to maintain and nurture within ourselves so that we can be successful. If you don't do that, then you're trying to think backwards. Well, I'll be successful and then I'll be happy. That's not how it works. That's not for human beings. Human beings have to be happy before they can be sustainably successful. Let me be clear about that. We're talking about sustainable success, not temporary success. Like, I won the contract, that's temporary success. I closed the deal, that's temporary success. I continually win contracts and close deals, that's sustainable success. And I promise you that in order for you to get sustainable success, you're going to have to understand what joy is all about. And joy is all about connection. It's all about collaboration. It's all about making a meaningful contribution. And those are the underpinnings of that kind of stuff. And so there's 7 rules that I want to share with you when it comes to developing win-win relationships. And these key ideas are all pulled from the various different types of research that I've already done. And again, that stuff is in the document. But rule number 1 is you have to be willing to do the review, check the lit reviews, do everything you need to do to get all the information you need to do. So you got to gather all the meaningful, factual data. Right? So those of you who are great at analysis, you're already good at this. But those who are not, you have to polish up your presentation and analytical skills. You have to learn how to gather the relevant and meaningful data in your industry, in your class, in your section, whatever you're doing, whatever you're coming from. If you're not gathering the right data and the right information, then what are you sharing with others that has any meaning or any relevance? Are you just sharing stuff that's just there to share, or are you sharing stuff that's really meaningful and relevant to your industry, to your customers, to your potential partners, or to others that might invest in you? Do you really have the data they need to know in order to make the meaningful decision to work with you or to support you or whatever that is? Because if you don't have that relevant data, and I mean relevant to the person that you're talking to, then I got a feeling you're going to be wasting a lot of time talking to a lot of people about the wrong things, right, at the wrong time. And you want to make sure you have that right information. That's facts of fact. Keep the facts where the facts need to be. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, be open about your time, your talent, and your treasure. Be able to brilliantly articulate what it is that you bring to the table. That means you got to do the homework on yourself, right? You got to know what you have to offer that's valuable. And when I say valuable, that automatically means that's valuable in relationship to other people. But that's not what I mean by value. I mean what's valuable about it to you. What do you get excited about that you know that you have? What gifts, what talents, what abilities do you have that you are excited about? that's already, it's already born in you. It's already something that you've either nurtured or it comes through however you've gotten. But you have to be able to brilliantly articulate those things. One of the things I am exceptionally good at, and I know it, is I'm exceptionally good at making friends. I've been doing it since I can remember. I've been establishing relationships where people will give me the shirt off their back within the first 15 minutes. Why? It is because it's not my personality. It's because I am so about the business of playing hard at a high level right away with people. I don't even give them time to breathe, unfortunately. When they come play with me, it's like, okay, you ready to run? Or, you want to sit on the sidelines and watch the rest of us run, because we're running. That's what we're doing. So I play at a high level, and I make sure people around me get a chance to play at a high level. I don't leave anybody behind who wants to play, right? But if you want to play, let's go for it. Let's do it now. Let's not make any excuses of why we can't do the things we want to do, or say the things we want to say, or be in the spaces we want to be in. Let's get it done. Let's do it now. I'm going. Are you coming with me? That's what I bring to the table. And I know that anytime I meet people who are get in that draft or get in that system, they always feel better about themselves as a result of working with me. It's a gift. I don't take it for granted. I use it as an opportunity to not just grow myself, but to grow others. But what is it that you bring to the table? You have to know how to brilliantly articulate that. You have to be able to speak to it. You have to be able to write about it. You have to be able to share it with other people. Because if you have a gift that you're not sharing, how is the thought process that your gift will make room for you actually going to occur? People need to be aware that you have this talent, that you have this ability, that you have this gift. If not, then you can't do anything. Number 3, very, very important. You have to know your communication styles, right? Over the last 3, and there's a link to how you can create that, or how you understand that in the document. But if you don't know how it is that you communicate with others and how it is others receive you, you need to be about that homework, figuring that out, so that you can figure out what areas that you might want to be sharing things with, what people that you might want to associate with, that speak your language, or you speak their language. But what you shouldn't have to do is be inauthentic in the spaces that you're trying to generate opportunity for yourself and for others. And so you need to find those spaces that feel good for you to be in, because you speak the language. You understand and communicate those values and the visions that are part of what that is, because that's where you're going to find your support systems. That's where you're going to find people who really, really can mutually understand where you're coming from and where you want to go, right? And so I developed a program called the Vision Quest program. Vision Quest 90 is the core program of my coaching practice, and it helps business leaders, entrepreneurs really, really quickly, within just 90 days, is figure out all those things that we're talking about. What is it that I need to be saying, and to who do I need to be saying it to, and how do I share it in a way that's going to be exciting and interesting and valuable to other people, so that I don't find myself doing what I call showing up and throwing up, talking to the wrong people about the wrong things at the wrong time, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to do really quickly, talk to the right people the right way at the right time, and you want to be able to do that. And so there's some tools available in the document for you to go and use it and make utilization of. The 4th idea that I want to share with you is something that I think is so important. If you find yourself trying to build professional relationships and you're not using tried and true principles that you both agree on, there's 1,000 principles out there on relationship building, right? But you have to figure out what the best principles are for you and what works best for you. I will tell you, my organization, the Round Table, is an organization that we built on 3 core principles. And those principles are communication, those principles are encouragement, and those principles are collaboration. We focus everything that we're doing around those 3 principles. When we find ourselves not focusing around those 3 principles, we can't feel good about what we're doing, because we're not mission-based at that point in time. We're not doing the things that we need to do that we can validate based on the principles that we all agree on. we all have said these are the principles that matter to us, and so this is how we're going to set forward and make good things happen in the universe, and that's what we're doing. And by the way, if anybody'd like to come to one of our roundtable meetings, we meet every Tuesday virtually at noon, and I'll see if I can't dig up the link and put that in to some of the chat somewhere as we move on. Okay, so we've covered everything you need to do to really take the first four principles of the first four concepts or ideas of the seven in mind. But all those ideas are all about you doing the homework, right? Whether you're gathering data, whether you're learning how to express your treasure and your handle, like understanding your communication style and using the right principles. All those things are things that you do based on your research, based on your understanding, based on your collaborative efforts that you've been able to pull off so far. All right. The next part of this is really getting into how do you establish these, what I call destiny partnerships. In order to get into these kinds of relationships where you know you're going to have somebody who's going to be with you for a long time, not forever, but for a long time, right? You need to have a level of social intelligence that's really going to be the bedrock of how you establish and keep that relationship going, right? So a couple things you have to have in place, and this is rule number 5, a destiny partnership mindset. In your mind, in your heart, you have to be willing to, look at the long term of what you're both trying to accomplish. Hopefully there's some overlap between what you're trying to accomplish in the long term, and find out how you're going to rock with each other, how you're going to help each other along the way. What are the things that you might imagine that you might be able to do? What you have to think about this. What short-term things that you might have to sacrifice for the long-term advantage, right? And then you have to share what those are. You may be talking to a partner, a potential partner, and you might say, listen, I know I should be, reading more material and all that kind of good stuff and expanding my mind, but I'm so focused on this partnership, I'm so focused on the goals that we have, that I'm probably gonna have to set that down for a while in order for me to really focus on what we're doing here. What are you sacrificing? I promise you, that's a question that most people just don't have. They just assume that what we're going to do, everybody has time and capacity and space to do it, but they're not making any sacrifices in order to do. Anytime you are going to add new things to your world, you got to be asking yourself the question, what am I going to get rid of? Because we're all overwhelmed already. We're all overstressed already. No matter what we add that's new to the pot, the more we can understand exactly what it is we're trying to give up, the more important. So understanding part of the destiny mindset is knowing what you're going to cut loose, what you're going to get rid of. And then if your goals or your vision is not so big that you can't even imagine how you can't do it by yourself, then it's not big enough. You're going to need to have a vision that's big enough, that's so big that you can't imagine doing it alone, right? If you can imagine doing it alone, then there's no reason for you to even look for a partnership. And in fact, you're probably going to damage any partnerships you could have because you're going to be jaded into thinking that you should be doing it your own by yourself. Somehow, somewhere in the back of your mind, you're going to be like, you know what? I don't really need no help with this. I'm going to do it by myself. That's not a good enough goal. That's not a good enough sense of destiny. You're not going to really be able to develop a partnership around that, because if eventually your partner's going to be like, if you can do it by yourself, then why you got me on board? Why am I even here? If you're going to do it all for yourself by yourself, why am I there? So learning how to share, and learning how to embrace others and what they bring to the table is incredibly important for a destiny partnership in order for you to have that kind of mindset, right? The 6th concept that I want to share with you is this concept of having an instinct for mutual benefit. Now, what do I mean by that? Most of us are taught to think about me, I, what's in it for me, right? But very few of us have learned to and are good at thinking about things through what's in it for we. All right. This is, if you learn to start thinking in we terms, especially when you're working with your partners of any type, right? You're going to from there be able to establish what we call mutual benefit. You're going to be able to see what is the return on our relationship? What is the return of investment on our relationship? I call it the ROR, return on relationship, right? You know, and I can't say I can't claim credit for that, because that came from directly from Dr. Ivan Misner, who in my esteem is one of the best relationship developing gurus out there. You know, if you haven't read any of his books, Dr. Ivan Misner, I suggest you read them. But the return on relationship has to be real. And it's super important that you have an idea of what that instinctually, what that return might be. And you need, again, sharing, right? Communicating what you're thinking that's in it for them for the relationship, and what you're thinking is in it for you for the relationship, is super important, because when you don't, you leave holes and gaps in a situation where, you know, there are all kinds of opportunities for mutual accountability. But you have to crave that kind of success. You have to crave that kind of accolades back and forth between you and whoever you want to get into this destiny partnership with, right? So think about that. And the last step, number 7, is I want you to think about how you might understand and use the professional principles that are tried and true, not just the ones that you, the values that's friendship. What other principles might you both embrace that you haven't embraced that would heavily help you do more? And one of those principles are, you know, listen more than you speak. Now, this is hard for people, especially people who like to talk a lot. And so I would say get comfortable with a couple things. One, get comfortable with silence, because sometimes when you're listening, you just need to be quiet and listen some more, and then listen some more. And then when that person has expanded their thoughts and whatever, you might want to ask another question that keeps the party going, so you can listen some more, and then listen some more. And when it's super painful and you can't take it no more, right, you may want to ask permission to speak and share some thoughts and some insights that you might have on the same topic. Don't get off topic. Don't try to drag a person into places where they don't want to talk about, where they're not even focusing. But stay on topic and listen, and then reflect what you've heard, and then make sure there's a mutual understanding. And when you can do this, when you can make the investment in paying attention to each other, you're going to want to make that investment count. You're going to want to make that investment even more. The more you give a person your attention, the more you're going to want to give, if that retention is returning something valuable to you, right? So but if they're not returning, if they're paying attention to them and they're just giving you some stuff that you don't really care so much about, it's not going to make a difference to you. You don't really see yourself getting it. Pretty soon you're going to have to cut that out. The wrong person, you chose the wrong person to play with, because they haven't done even their own homework and understanding what you're bringing to the table once you come, and they're not even interested. You're just so busy with blah, 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 me. That's not a weed thinking person. You know, that's gonna be a person that's gonna be like, oh, this is all about me, always will be all about me. And learn how to discern what those things are really, really quickly. Now, there's some things that I have in the document about establishing win-win agreements. There's 4 different concepts, and there's exercises at the bottom. But before I bore you guys with any of that stuff, I want to give a quick little shout out to, you know, my girl Tamika, who is here, and she's from Louisiana weeks ago. And this is her information right here. Tamika, if you want to do anything, or you want to share anything from anything that you've learned, or anything that you want to share with people, feel free to do so in the chat. She has got a wonderful business in terms of trucking and training and technology, and she's a supercharger when it comes to this. And I think she's going to make a huge difference in the world of business for so many people. And so if you guys haven't reached out to Tamika, there she is. She's right there on Front Street, and she's everything that she has to bring to the table. Right, you can figure that out. Check out her LinkedIn profile. But if anybody who's out there has any questions or any thoughts about what we've shared so far, please put that information in the chat. I know there's a bit of a delay between the time you put stuff in the chat and the time that I see it and can respond to it, but I will do as best I can. And I'll ask a couple of open-ended questions in the meantime. Has anybody ever learned how to create and maintain what I like to call mutual respect? Now, before you answer that question, you can either answer the question in your own heart. You don't have to put it in the chat. But if you answer in the chat or anything like that, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that you've thought about it, right? In order for you to keep and maintain mutual respect, then you have to know what respect is. And respect is not generally what we think respect is. If you look it up in the dictionary, respect is all about people that you found or seen something in that you have a high level of regard or adoration for, some characteristic that they may have shared or shown you, right? So that's literally what it is. It's not, you don't have what's called general overall respect for everybody. That is not possible. Respect is specific to an individual based on organization, based on your level of regard or adoration for some characteristic that they have shown or shared with you, right? So stop going around talking about, I respect everybody. Let that go. I understand what you're trying to say. Everybody's important. Everybody has something special about them. All that's true. But respect is really narrowly defined, and you have to make sure you use it correctly. So who have you shown a level of, and they've shown you back a level of mutual respect, and how's it go? How's that happen for you? If you want to share anything about that in the chat, go ahead and do that. And by the way, if you're watching this and you are watching a replay, the chat's still going to be available. So definitely still share those ideas with anybody you may have to have in the chat, because when you have a level of respect and it's a mutual respect and you're sharing that respect one to another, the relationships get elevated to a super level. I've had professors and friends who I thought so much of, and they have blessed me by even saying to me, thank you for your attention. You have no idea how much it means to me that you paid attention and engaged with what I am trying to share with you, because it lets me know that I get it right. Am I doing it right? Am I sharing it in the right way? Is this the way to embrace it? And that's super important for everybody. I always ask for feedback because I know how important it is in terms of how it will help me grow. But I also know how important it is in terms of how it helps the people that I work with engage. So think about how that might work in your life and how that might work in your business. Let me see if I have any questions out there yet. There's no questions out there yet. Okay, fine. I got another open-ended question for you. When was the last time you actually entered into a commitment with somebody that wasn't just, I got your back kind of a commitment, but a specific commitment to help each other win, whatever winning looks like to both or either of you? When's the last time you had that interaction where you are mutually sharing your commitment with one another to create winning results by each of your definitions about what winning looks like? There's a specific strategy I brought to you all in the document that I shared with you about how to do that. How do you set aside the time to show up for one another and to really maintain that? That's the relationship building stuff. When you're talking about the commitment that you share, not just one or the other, but both of you all, mutual commitment is really what makes a relationship reach to the next level. And sometimes you have to write that commitment down. Sometimes you have to sign a document that says, this is what we're both committed to, and this is what it means to us. I promise you, when you take those vows, right? I just thought about how that's pretty much the same. When you take those vows and you honor those vows all the time, and you remind each other of those vows all the time, I promise you, those declarations that you might make to one another are the things that will keep you coming back, because you will be able to see not just the declaration, but the actions behind the declarations on a week-to-week basis. And every time you get together, you can share what's up next and what you're doing next and how you're driving next. And, I love mutual accountability and partnerships because that's kind of how they work. Who do you have in your corner who you're able to commit that to, that opportunity to, those time, talent, and treasure that you have? Who do you have that you can commit that stuff to? I'm gonna check my Q&A box again. Don't have anything in the Q&A so far. Okay, we're gonna keep the party going. I'm gonna ask you one last open-ended question, and then I'm gonna close this down. The last question is, who do you have around you that's constantly celebrating the small victories? And I mean on a week-to-week basis. Who are you telling that I just thought about this in a new way, or I just understood this in a new way, and they're throwing a victory party for you, and vice versa? Who do you have like that? Again, those are the things that win-win relationships are all about. You should have a ton of professional relationships that when you make an announcement of something, people are going to not just go, oh, I see you, but then they're going to go, oh, no, I see you. Congratulations. Let's do more. That's amazing. How did you come up with that? They want to engage with you. They want to talk to you about it. They want to be involved with even and celebrate with you, right? They want to do that. And they don't even mind. They'll sponsor that celebration, or they'll pay to be a part of that celebration. That's not even a thing, because for them, it's about celebrating you and celebrating the win. And if they're a win-win partner of yours, then it's about celebrating the win together, right? So think about that. How often is that happening for you? I promise you, if the more often it's happening, the less you're going to feel stressed, the less you're going to feel put upon, the less you're going to feel weighed down by your own thoughts and your own ideas and so on and so forth, because you don't have anybody to share it with who's going to be supportive, right? This is what win-win relationships are all about. From a neuralistic standpoint, neurological standpoint, when you are in win-win professional relationships, you feel much more secure in the things that you're trying to do. You feel that, even if you don't have the money right now, or you don't have the people right now, or you don't have the technology right now, it's right around the corner. And you can feel good and hopeful in your ability to acquire all the tools and talents and techniques that you need to acquire in order to get done the things that have been put upon your heart to do. But if you don't have these win-win relationships established, it becomes very, very difficult. Okay, I'm going to spend a moment talking to you all about some of the stuff, obviously, I'm into. Every week, the roundtable meeting starts, and we have a noon meeting, and we share with entrepreneurs and business leaders, all the things that I'm talking to you all about now. But we don't go into as much depth or detail because we can't do that at every meeting. But it's a wonderful virtual meeting that I suggest that anybody who's interested take a look at. In fact, I just realized I don't have my information scrolling across the screen like I'm supposed to. If anybody needs to get in contact with me, that's my information. It's right there. It's scrolling across the screen. I call myself the 9-step guru because I'm always coming up with 7 steps for this and 5 steps for that and 9 steps for that. But you can reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere I am. You can subscribe. You can, connect with me, and I will be as responsive as I possibly can. I can't respond to everybody all the time for everything, but please share. And if there's something that you've gotten from me that you can move forward or that you appreciate, let me know. I really appreciate that, because it means a lot to me to connect to people and to be connected to people who I'm able to pour something of meaning and significance into their life and their abilities and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm looking forward to working with any and every one of you all. If you have any questions about anything we've shared or anything that you are interested in, let me know, because I build this content around a lot of what I get back from people who are watching, who are listening far and wide, right? And so if you have anything that you want to bring to the table, anything you want to share, feel free to do so. My name is Coach Powell. I'm signing off now. Headed to some specific events for the evening. Hopefully we can get out of here and make some things happen. Talk to you all soon. Bye now.